you ever wanted to monetize your knowledge, skills, and expertise to fulfill your God-given purpose? The Kingdom Business Leadership Podcast helps you to use tools and strategies to partner with God in your business and act on His voice for your business breakthrough, development, and success, so God can truly be your CEO. This is the Kingdom Business Leadership Podcast. Here's your host and partner in purpose, Dr. Andrea Hart.
Back again. Today's episode is going to be a doozy, but we're going to go and get it. I'm going to bring in my co-host because y'all know, as we talked about previously, and if you haven't, go back and watch the last episode. Go back and watch the trailer for this season. And if you watch that, you're going to find out what we're doing, what we're talking about. This the theme of this quarter, if you're watching this at the time it's being recorded, is on wounds of leadership and inner healing for business and ministry leaders. So we're going to be getting into some things. So let me bring our co-host in, Miss Charise Richardson-McGriff. Y'all give it up. Give it up for her. We'll see. My editing skills are getting there, so we'll see if I can put in some sound effects or some applause or something. But before we jump in, and it's just going to be a discussion, let me tell you a little bit. Some of y'all might remember Charise because she's been on, not necessarily on the pod, but on various things when we had your Create Your Own Door conference 2 years ago. She was one of the speakers. Just various things. Charise has always been there. She's always been a part of KBLN.
Yeah.
And just has done all the things. So let me read a little bit. And of course, some of you guys that are friends, they say friends of the pod. I'm getting all my lingo together. Friends of the pod. But she's a mindset coach. She's an author, a domestic violence overcomer. So that really is the crux of her platform. But in the midst of all that, she's been in business for going on 20 years. And she has various businesses, but her main one that we're going to be talking about is CAJD Apparel and more. Well, not that we're going to be talking about, but the main one that she does is that. And then also she has a coaching business. So, but her main foundation is around confidence. She believes it's a superpower that everyone is capable of possessing. So with Charise, whenever I have anybody that's an issue, they have confidence issues, whether it be in any realm, or anything, Charise is your girl to call to get over that. So, and she also here recently, within the last year or so, she started a membership program called Confidence God's Way, where she's able, it's a free program, free membership. It's a Facebook group membership, but the membership itself, you're going to have to make an investment, right?
That's correct. Yes.
There's an investment associated with that, but you can join the Facebook group and get some freebies and things like that. She also hosts an annual conference around confidence, overcoming in the area of domestic violence and things. It's called I'm Becoming Fearless, which are the titles of her recent book series. These are the books. I have them. Fearless Warrior, and then the workbook, Fearless Warrior Workbook. So definitely get your hands on those things. If you're watching the video version of this podcast, you saw them. They're going to be in the description, in the show notes, whatever we have, you're going to have all the information, how to connect with her as well. But I thought it would be awesome and great as one of our first co-hosts to have her come in, and she will be back. But we're going to talk about and just have not an interview, but just a real life discussion about entrepreneurship and trauma and what ends up happening. And I want to keep in touch with our time. This is probably going to get broken up into 2 episodes, y'all. So but either way, the thing about it is I see these posts, and you can tell me, Charise, if you've seen them too. Every now and again, if you have people that are business owners that are your friends, you'll see a post every now and again that talks about y'all can tell me, y'all can put it in the comments, a description of pretty much why they hate entrepreneurship, like all this laundry list of things.
Yes.
And I'm just like, man, yes, you have it rough, but they're like promoting it or whatever. Like you don't want to be an entrepreneur because X, Y, Z and all these different things. Oops, sorry, y'all. I kicked my thing. All these things can happen, right?
Very much true.
True. But then I'm like, man, is that the way? I mean, if that's the way business is for you all the time, you need to find you a job. I wish I had one of the posts to actually read it, because it's like so depressing. And it's like,
I've seen them.
Yeah. So, and it makes you like, man, and I understand, because we've all had ups and downs. In a second, we'll, talk about some of those things. But my God, like,
oh goodness,
and I get it, but then I'm like, you might need some prayer if you still holding on to this, and it's like you're in jail, But anyway, so we're just going to start off so you guys have a little foundation about us. Just our kind of, I'll call it business story time.
Yes.
Kind of like how we got started. And I won't go first, because in the last episode, I talked through some of this, so y'all know some of the things I'm going to say. So I'll let our co-host, Miss Charise, begin.
Well, how I started business was, at first, when I first started doing business, it was just because I needed some extra money, right? I started making like these little bracelets and things like that at first. And at first it was just, I was like, I just need some money, and this is a quick, thing to do. And, I had some other people, family members, that were actually also doing this kind of thing as well. And so I felt like, if they making this extra money, I can make some extra money too. And then as I kept going, it turned into something else. It was like I started making bracelets and doing these different things, and it started becoming more meaningful. It helped me to, get through some things that I was going through in life, because like when you're making jewelry, like just making bracelets and things like that, it gave me that time alone to think and to be able to, think about what I was actually doing and what I really wanted to do in my life at, period. And then so also, making, selling jewelry and different things like that, it was like, we could really change the world. Like, instead of just, selling somebody a piece of jewelry, you can sell somebody something and make them feel confident and make them feel bold and beautiful about themselves. And I started praying through that, and I was like, wait a minute. I don't think that people really realize what jewelry does for somebody, like, what it does for you, what it makes you feel like, what it makes you look like. And I just felt like, instead of just selling pieces of jewelry and it not meaning anything and you just putting it in your jewelry box, if you have something where somebody has prayed over it, who loves God, who's confident, who's bold, then eventually that stuff is going to rub off on you. And so I started praying through that strategy, and that's how I just kept going with that. And it has been awesome. Yeah, it started expanding. I started getting invited to different events, and
wait, you were making all the stuff?
Well, at first, when I first started, I was making jewelry. I was making earrings. I
remember that.
Bracelets. Yeah. When I first started, I wasn't selling any wholesale retail stuff.
And I remember, because I remember saying like, girl, you make all this stuff and you selling for $5. Yes. I was like, girl.
Yeah.
Prices. I remember that.
Yeah. So at first it was no retail, like, I got into the retail wholesale stuff later because I got into the fashion, and the fashion part came just with me being more confident in me. Like, the way I dress, the way I carry myself, all that has changed. And I really see that it has really evolved over the years. That, the more I go in God, it's kind of crazy, because the more I go in God, the more fashionable I get.
Well, it's like the confidence thing. And I think about just knowing, your story regarding the domestic violence and all that. And if y'all want to know her story, Charise, you have a YouTube? Yeah, you do have a YouTube.
Yes, I do.
She probably, if she doesn't have it up already, she'll probably have it and do it. At least she's going to do it when she launch her podcast to hear the fullness. The allness and the muchness of her story and what she went through, because she's come through a lot. So I can understand where, as you grew, like, as you grow as a person, you just become more confident. So all the people that are listening to this that are under 30, it's gonna get better.
It's gonna get better.
I know when I
promise.
was
Don't
under
give
30,
up.
confidence was like, what? You know, I had it, but baby, when you get older and you know, you learn about some things and you get a little money in your hand.
Yes.
You know, that confidence, and you can get some hair in your head, get some lashes and everything.
Listen, everything changes. It's
Everything
like, oh,
changes.
you know, like,
You know,
listen, I really can do this, you know.
okay, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention people that get plastic surgery and all that too.
All
But,
the extra.
but the thing about it is I totally, you know, get that as you got, you know, more established and more confident in yourself, you know, you started wanting people to see you almost. Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And I also wanted people just to, and it was like a thing for me, like if I, you know, can be set free from all of the stuff that I've been through and, you know, being called all the names and everything in the book,
Right.
you know, if I can get through that, then I can help some other people get through that too. And so, you know, and that's the thing that I strive for now. It's just like, you know, I'm confident and I love God and I'm following God and I'm doing all the things, but it's so many people that want to do it and they're not sure how. They're not sure how to be confident. Some people don't know how to put colors together. Like if we just gonna talk about fashion,
I know.
period,
I've seen that.
Right? Some people don't know how to put patterns together. I'll put some patterns together. People be like, well, how you put all that together? But to me, it's not just putting the patterns together. You gotta, if you're gonna do something, you gotta be bold and confident in it, right? You can't just say, I'm gonna put stripes and polka dots together and you're not confident. You gotta wear this thing. Now, how you gonna wear it? Now, what you gonna do? Right? Because you can make it work. But it has to work for your personality. And my personality is I'm a person that's gonna be outside the box. And so you might see me with green and yellow on, or you might see me with blue and red on with, you know, some polka dots and some stripes, but I'm going to put it together and you're going to be like, wait a minute, I wouldn't have worn that, you know? And so I just want people to feel that side of just being bold and being able to just not just go to the store and get an already made outfit. You don't have to do that. You can go to the store and you go to several stores and you can put something together that is unique and tailored to who you are.
Don't she sound like a stylist, y'all? I've been telling her to do this for the longest, man. So definitely connect with her because she will be doing some type of stylist for corporate, for business people, and all that, because some people just need it. Because the other part of that, you know, I know we're a little bit off topic, but the other part of that is you represent your business. So if you look any kind of way, people are like, do you even care about like your business? And then the other piece and part of that, and I know, you know, as Christians, we shouldn't look at people after the flesh, but if you look good and you look approachable, people look at you and approach you. And we've talked about this when we're talking about marketing and stuff, know, like, and trust. Some people just like you because of how you look. And it's not like being like pretty, you know what I'm saying? It's like well put together, things like that. So y'all get that out of your head, because I know sometimes women think, well, I'm just not pretty. Pretty is in the eye of the beholder, but the other piece of pretty is I've seen some people that if you just bare face, no hair, they not exactly, you know. If you look at the video, people see my eyes, but the people are listening to audio. But you know, they went.
Listen.
Look, it's like they talk about that guy, the what's that man with Megan Good? Got a face only a mother can love. That's how they talk.
You know what?
Some of us might have that. So
is it like what's his name? What's his name?
Majors, yes.
There you go. Yeah.
So some of us might have that face, not his face, but a face like that. But let me tell you, if you know how to do your makeup, you know how to put some hair on your head, you know how to fix yourself up, you will look good, and people won't even really pay attention.
And people definitely will pay attention to you. And not only that, like, and that's why, that's one thing is that I keep going back to the confidence thing, is because you can put it together, like, you know, just let's say, for instance, like my hair, for the people who are watching, you can see that I don't have that much hair, right? My sides are cut, my back is cut, right? That's my choice. But and the ones who's listening, like, you know, you can't see it, but at the same time, a lot of people always ask me, that was a bold move. Like, how did you pull that off? And I'm like, because it's what I wanted. And I did, and I boldly and confidently went for that look, right? I went for that look. I was like, okay, listen, this is what I want. This is the look, and everybody can't rock this look. This is not for everybody, right? But I got it.
Some people shouldn't because of where they work. If you're working in a bank, if you're working in, and where, you know, Nicole, y'all know Nicole has been on this platform before, that does career coaching and all this type of stuff. She'll tell you certain places, it's just not going to fly. Yeah. But for what you do and who you are in your business, because that's the other thing I was going to say, your business, all your pieces reflect who you are. They're very bold. There are all these things. But anyway, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you.
Yeah, no, you're fine. But I was just saying, you know, like, you just have to, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. That's like somebody cutting their hair off. If you're going to do it, do it. Like, a lot of people cut their hair off or they go for a fro or whatever. You're going to have to wear that fro. Like, you can't just, like, not comb it and not brush it and think that you're going to be cute. Like, that's not what we're doing.
That don't never work.
It don't work. So if you're going to do it, put some nice earrings on, make a statement with it. And I think that's one of the things of just being just who you are. You know, you're gonna make a statement, and in your business, and it, we're talking about business too, but if you're gonna do this in your business, you have to be bold, and you have to do it in a way that is bold to you and is confident to you. You can't just do what somebody else is doing, right? When you go down the bread aisle, there's like 10,000 different companies that sell bread, but somebody does something different than the other, right? And so you just got to be able to do that same exact thing in your business. You got to be bold, you got to be confident, you got to know that this is what I have to do for me to be able to succeed.
Right, because the other side of that is, it's really, we're talking about business, but there's also ministry people on here, but your platform is your platform, and your platform is going to be, for it to be authentic, which it should be, it's going to resemble who you are. But if you don't know who you are, what are you, your brand can be who you are if you have a personal brand. But even if you don't have a personal brand, and when I say that, meaning that if people don't know who you are in your business, let's say you have a cleaning company and they just don't know the face behind it, they just know the brand of the cleaning company, there's nothing wrong with that. But that brand is still going to speak to who you are. If you believe in excellence, if you believe in a high standard of things, your website will look like it. It's not going to be, stuff's not going to be janky. It's going to speak to who you are. So some people, I think they don't even need to be in business, because if I walk in your restaurant and I see dirt everywhere and this and that, and whatever, that speaks to who you are as a business owner.
Very true.
And I know I'm not going to eat there, because I know if you can't keep the outside clean, surely that kitchen ain't gonna be right.
Yeah. I remember one time I ran into this lady who said, like, she did like candy apples and stuff like that, and she was a really nice person. But when I walked into her car, she would go put something, she needed help, and I was helping her carry some stuff to her car. I seen, like, her car, she had bottles and cups all over the car. It was like jacked up. And I was like, I can't deal with that. No. That's not being bold and confident, if you ask me. Like, that's being just nasty. Like, especially if you're selling food, like, come on.
That part.
Let's not do that, right? So that's not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about being bold and confident. So I won't do that. I mean, like, at least, like, we understand, like, if you got kids, you may have like a stain or something that didn't come out or something, and that's understandable.
You got kids, you got 3 kids, and you keep your stuff together.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I understand that. Like, if I see like a little stain or something that you tried to get out of something, I get that.
Girl, but they got garbage cans at every gas station.
But I was like,
so there's no excuse.
It's like, nah, we're not gonna be able to buy not one candy apple. I will learn how to make them myself before I buy.
Yeah, but people don't realize that those are some of the things that are keeping them at the level that they at.
Very true. Very true.
And that has nothing to do with your marketing, and your marketing and stuff will get you so far. But if they go to your event or they try to do your online thing and it's just slipshod, it's just issues.
Yeah,
that speaks to, because they don't really know you, and even if they do, that kind of speaks to what they might get through your business.
Very
so
true.
I know y'all know we was all over the place.
It's okay. Hey, somebody, let me tell you something. What we talked about, somebody need to hear that.
Oh, girl, we was in the spirit on the Lord's Day. Because if it's for you, y'all take it as a word.
Yes.
There was a minister used to say, if the shoe fit, tie it tight. We just helped some people. we
believe it when I say
right then. That was my thing. No, but you can see, you guys, with her starting her business, it wasn't like she was all pristine and all this stuff. It was just something that was in her heart, and it expanded, and she heard the voice of God and was like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And then 20 years later, it's a full, if y'all go on her boutique shop, it's full. It's got all these things. And I know she's looking to get a store. So that's the other thing. Despise not small beginnings. Start where you're at.
Yeah, very true.
I know for me with business, and you guys know origin story and all that, you can look at some of the other content. So I'll be really, really, really quick. Just always have just wanted to do business like my whole life. I think it started as a babysitters club that I never launched, but I set it all up, infrastructure and all that, but I ain't had no clients. So that was it. And then from there, just doing different things. And then when I got married pretty young. So in the mid 20s. So my husband had a clothing line, t-shirt company. So was helping him with that. And he still has it. And we still, if you look at my website, my store website, you'll still see there's some things on there. But it was really his main thing in helping him. And then from there, what did I do? From there, more ministry stuff. So for me, ministry and business kind of coincided, but it was like you would do ministry stuff, then you would have products. So it was that type of thing. And I think at that point, I always wrote. So I always had like writings. So turn some of those writings into books. So anybody that knows, I have a publishing writing company. So anytime you have a book, you automatically have a business. Anybody that's in KBLN, if you remember, you've been following, rocking with us, you already know. I say any type of, if you're packaging your oil in some way, it's a business. So, some people don't do very well in the book business because they're like, I just wrote the book and that's it. But you got to market it and sell it and all these things. So I think for me, it started with that. And then, as you guys know, as I've said on here before, we had a healthcare company. We bought into a franchise. So did that for 5 years, made a lot of money doing that, spent a lot of money doing that. So there wasn't a lot of money left. And as you guys know, that I talked about it in the last episode, I talked about, and now I'm going to talk about this more. We ended up having to actually file bankruptcy right after that. And you guys can listen for and listen to all of that, and the reasoning and all that, you can listen to that. But those were the businesses. And then after that launched, what was that business? That was a human resources recruiting. So did that, and then merged that into kind of what we're doing, some of the things that we're doing now. So for me, business has always been, let me look at when I'm talented at, skilled at, package it up and tell other people about it. And you take some L's sometimes, you learn some things and all of that. But I think that's just part of that. So that's my business origin type of story. So now y'all know what's going on, what we've done for the most part. So saying all that, and I think you guys need that foundation because we're going to talk about trauma. So let's
talk about it, okay?
Because business, I knew we needed to talk about this because, we're talking about wounds of leadership, wounds of and inner healing for business and ministry leaders. And when I say inner healing, let me explain that. That's different than physical healing. So it might be the emotional side of things, because whenever you go through a trauma, as you all know, that thing will have you paralyzed in fear and whatever, because you don't want to get hurt again. So that happens a lot for people in business. Like they might have started out in a business and it didn't do well. They didn't stick with it. They lost everything and then they stopped. Or they could keep going. There's one thing, I didn't bring any stats to today, but there's a lot of people you say, oh, they hit with business and they're doing really well. They're multimillionaires or whatever it is, but you don't know how many times they didn't do well, how many times they failed at business. So we're going to talk about that because there's some people that God has ministry and business and things on you that you're supposed to do, but you're not doing them because you don't want to deal with the trauma. So we talked a little bit about it, but Charise, you know, I said some things that talk about how business is traumatic. So for you, what things you feel like make the whole business thing? Because some people will not ever, or they try to be in business and then they don't really be in it because they like afraid to tell people what they actually sell. What makes it traumatic? You know, what in your past, what do you think, or what do you feel like makes it traumatic for not necessarily just yourself, but like for other people?
I think the fear of failure is like one of those number one things that stop people from pursuing business, period. The fear of, if I don't get it right, they're gonna laugh at me.
They're gonna do that anyway.
They're gonna do that anyway, right? I spent all this money, and you know, I'm really not in a good financial place. Another thing to me for traumatic is this financial loss, like losing finances. That's why I think it's not good to start a business with and don't have any money at all. I do believe that you should have a lot of people out, you know, nowadays you see things all the time, you know, you can get paid quick, you can get, you know, have a business in a day. You can have all this money, but I personally believe, and this is just from my personal experience, that if you get money that quickly, then something down the line may be wrong.
Yes.
And I would rather
quick.
I would rather deal with getting there, because this is the thing. You want to learn how to manage it on whatever stream of income you're making in, right? So if I'm making, just say if I'm making $3,000 a month in my business, right? I know what it takes to make $3,000 a month in business. Okay, so now if I want to go up to $5,000 a month, I'm going to have to think a little different. Right. So to me, every tier is a different thought process, because you get different bills with different money. Right. Because you have to keep
expenses.
You have to keep going up.
Yes.
You have to keep going up. Yes. Yes.
That part.
Right. Yes. So you still got to pay your business taxes, right? Quarterly or however you want to pay them.
I don't have an employee.
Got to pay them. You know,
taxes are a thing.
Yes. All of that. So it's like, you know, I get it, you know, but do not go into business without any money. I think that's the most of times when we see businesses fail. It's a financial loss because you put everything you had into this business. My personal opinion is that you should not do that, especially if you have a family that is, you know, depending on you to provide, because that is going to sting you in an amount of stress that you don't even understand, and that you are not willing to try to that you can't even overcome yourself, right? Because you got to think business is stressful by itself, you know, because you got to think, if you're selling a product, right? Do they like my product? Are they going to come back and buy my product? Am I going to have repeated customers? Where can I go set up and sell my product if you don't already have a place to go, right? And then if you do have a place where you're selling, if you have a brick and mortar where you're selling your stuff at, how are you going to get people to come to your business to be able to buy the stuff that you have, right? So it's a lot of things that are involved in this. And I think that sometimes that money component of not having enough money, the financial loss and the fear, that sets in and people just give up.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you're like exactly right. Because there is, I mean, I don't think you have to have thousands of dollars. Well, it depends on the business. You don't have to have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to start, but you should have something.
You should,
and Charise already know. I don't necessarily believe in spending in certain businesses, spending like money that you ain't made, right? I know, you know, and I say that with a grain of salt, because when we had our home care business, it was a franchise. So they needed 6 figures from the jump. You know, you had to have, I think it was $200,000 liquid available. And then you had to pay for your franchise fee, which was, it was 5 figures. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was 5 figures. And for us, it was like more of a family business. We had, you know, myself, my parents, you know, we had more people putting money in the pot. But, you know, so that one they wouldn't let you start with no money. So it was very capital or cash intensive. But then you have on the other side, like a t-shirt business, which, my husband had, where Charise, as good as I do, you can start a t-shirt business with just go on Canva for free and make you a design and do some drop shipping and go to Printful or whatever. And you got a business. All you need is a website. But, or you don't even have to have the website, do a Facebook page. So that's a way of doing it. But eventually you're going to have to pay for something. If it's ads, if it's this, or if it's that. So I think the minimum to start would at least be, like $500. I think it's okay, depending on what the business is.
Depending on what the business is.
But then that goes back to, do you even know what you need? Because did you do a business plan? And even if you didn't write, like, it doesn't have, I've done a 100-page business plan, when you go to a bank trying to get a loan, but you can do, I think I did a show, might be on my YouTube, on a 1-page business plan. I know we taught it in, at school. We taught it in the Bible school. We taught it how to do like business canvas. Really short, but it's about you thinking through what could happen and what you need. Because at minimum, you should get you a website. At minimum, and then have some type of payment gateway. And at times, the better payment gateways that aren't necessarily like a PayPal or Cash App cost.
I will not use. See, this is the only thing with me that's Cash App.
Doing business in the cash. I don't even say. You already know.
No,
Cash App is better now. You can actually have like a record of what people do. But Cash App,
you can now, because I think they heard people going in. They was like, look.
Cash App was never designed to be a payment gateway for business. It was designed to be like, okay, I bought you a dinner. Let me give you the money for that $20 dinner. So let me Cash App it or send it to you. That's what it was designed for. It wasn't designed for, okay, let me sell this, coaching package for $50. You pay for me, or not 50, but whatever y'all pay for $500, and you Cash App me the money. Yeah.
I think that people, Cash App is a quick way, right? Yeah. You don't have to pay a middleman for Cash App, right? Only thing you have to pay for is a little percentage of your transaction. Right. But there's other things that are like that as well, because Square owns Cash App. So, Square has a whole platform where you can do the same thing, right? But it looks more professional because you can print out invoices. It's all kind of stuff you could do. You got your QuickBooks. You got have so many different things. I think it's Honeybook. You have that too. It's so many different ones that you have that you can do, these things with. So you just want to make sure that for your business, if you're going to do anything that's going to be that you got to have an invoice for, or that you got to give, you got to be able to show where you spent this amount of money, or you had to give out this product, and you want to have that, that information. You want to have a software that you're able to do that in, right? So for me, I use Square most of the time. And with Square, you can even go on there and put your products on Square if you want to do that, and then you can print out different invoices. You can send those invoices to people, different things like that. And they even have it where you could do that on Shopify too. They have it where you could do all that. So it just depends on what you're trying to do. But always remember that you want to be professional, because if you are small, right, you don't want to be small long. And that's why one of the things that I don't say, they be like, support my small business. I be like, support my family business. Not because we don't want to be small forever. We ain't trying. I'm not claiming that.
I get it. I understand why people say it, but we give you all a lot of sauce today. Yeah. Because Charise also does business coaching as well. Yeah. And she helps me teach one of our business classes at the college that we teach at. Yeah. But you guys need to do your own research. I know I have videos. If you go on this YouTube page, I have videos on a lot of this stuff. If you're a part of KBLN, y'all already know. Y'all can go in there and look up every single thing, everything that we're saying. But the thing is, I like what you were saying, Charise. You don't go in with this small mentality. You go in there like, I'm going to scale this up. Yes, maybe I'm making $50 a month, but I'm trying to make $50,000 a month eventually, and you can't do that on Cash App. The taxes alone, you take that, you talking about, you go to a CPA and you want them to do your taxes, you talking about all my stuff is in Cash App, they're going to look at you like you lost your whole mind. Yes. I think you lost your whole mind. Your bookkeeper. Cash App, they're gonna be like, baby, get you some QuickBooks.
Really quick.
Set this
Okay.
up.
Get you
You
something
know,
that's going to be substantial for where you're trying to go. You know, you can't look at one thing about business is that you can't look at where you are right now and say, this is where I am. You gotta say, okay, this is where I am now, but this is where I want to be. And so because I want to be in this place later, I have to act like I'm already there. Right, and I think that's another thing that stops us, you know, is it makes it traumatic for business because you got to be a visionary.
Right.
You got to think outside the box and you got to think about where you want to be, not now, but where I want to be 5 years from now. And what kind of money do I want to be making? And what does it take for me to get there?
So and then, because I always have to remember, we're talking to leaders as well. So some of y'all might not be in business. You might just be in ministry or leadership at your job or whatever, but you have to think beyond where you're at. And I think that's what me and Charise are just trying to say, that that's what makes, I know we're focusing in on business, but leadership and growing traumatic because you can't stay small. You have to grow, and God is looking for you to grow. But I also think, and I know we tried to say this, I don't believe, we're talking about entrepreneurship, I don't believe everybody's called to that.
Very true.
They just don't have it because you got to be, because it's not like a regular 9 to 5. You're working a lot, you know, in the beginning until you build a team or build systems to make everything work like a machine on its own. And just some people, they don't have the motivation, they don't have the want to, they don't have the strength, and that's fine. It ain't for everybody. Go ahead, work you a good 9 to 5, or some people do both. You know, work you a good 9 to 5, do the best you can at that, and then do passive things, make investments, do all those things, which are also technically businesses, you know, if you're buying real estate and all these other type of things. But sometimes some of the things that some people do is not for everybody, and that's okay.
Very true.
Is so okay.
Yeah. I think for leaders, in people in leadership, I think the thing that is traumatic for them is trying to have a work-life balance.
Yeah. Harmony, work-life harmony, because it ain't never going to be balanced.
Yeah. You know, just trying to figure things out, especially if you have like, you know, a family and different things like that. It's very difficult. I've been on that side of that as well, and not, you know, just not, you know, in entrepreneurship, but just being a leader, you know, being, you know, a manager in companies and doing different things, and then you have to go home and manage your family.
Right, and then be a wife where you can't tell your husband like no child, like a child, and like they one of your subordinates, like they one of your direct reports. I don't know where that works. It don't work anywhere.
No.
Not good.
And that's the thing, you know, so that's another thing that I believe that is traumatic for people because they don't know how to balance it out. You know, it's, you know, what I have heard, you know, from some men sometimes too, is that they're like, you know, on top at work, but at home they're not. Like when they get home, their wife doesn't treat them the same way that they have been treated at work. And I've heard multiple men say that before. And I'm like, man, you know, so in my relationship, it has helped me to try to be more understanding of that, you know, like, because you don't, you know, that's one of the work life, you know, harmonies we're talking about is you being able to be on top of the world at work, but when you get home, being humble as well and understanding that you may be a boss and title at work, but if you're married, then you have to humble yourself, especially if you're a woman, you have to humble yourself to your husband. And sometimes I know for women that, you know, make the money, it's kind of hard to do that. Right? It's kind of hard to do that.
That's a whole show on its own right there.
Yes.
It is. Yes. But then you got to think we're kingdom people, Christian people. So there's that dynamic as well. And I don't think women really, we're talking about women because we're women. I know there's men that listen, but they don't necessarily know how to, you know, we talk about code switching, they don't know how to switch.
Yeah.
So, but actually, to me, it's a breath of fresh air. I don't want to have to tell my husband how to do and what to do, lead, because I'm tired, right? I'm leading that job, the job at work, or, you know, whatever. You do, you lead, because I just want to be. You know, I just want to sit. I just want to not have to do that.
Not have to worry. Yes.
And, you know, go to the spa and do whatever. You do all that for the house. You know, I'll do what I need to do, of course, but. You know, sometimes for me, and that might just be my personality, I just need a break. You know, real talk. But even going back to what we were talking about, what makes these things when you go up in leadership, that can be traumatic as well. And then when you go up or have a business, I know some of the soft points that we haven't really said, but you lose friends because people just don't necessarily understand. That's if you're going up in leadership, ministry, any of that, and in business, because it's like your language is changing from what you don't necessarily, your mindset is changing, obviously, but it's not the same as what it was where you were with them. So as you move up, as you level up, whatever it is, you do lose friends. You do. Because if they're not going up at the same rate with you or trying, it's just going to be a disconnect.
Very true. And I also believe that a lot of the time people feel like, that traumatic is because you've been friends with somebody for, say you've been friends with somebody for 20 years. And but that person that you've been friends with 20 years have kept you in the same foolishness for the last 20 years. And sometimes it's okay to be like, I gotta go, and we don't know. I think in this is in leadership, this is in business, this is in everything. We don't understand that we have to let those relationships go so we can get to the next level, because that's just like God giving you a present, and he gives you this present and he's like, here's this present, but you don't have the ability to open it because you're not even paying attention to what he's even telling you to do, because you've been dealing with this foolishness with this person. Right.
Say that again for the people in the back.
Yes. And that goes for relationships.
Yeah.
Like this goes for relationships, not just for just like friendships. This is relationships too. You who you connected to sometimes can mess up where you're going, right? Because you don't have enough strength and mindset to be able to make the right decisions because you're listening to this person. And so I believe that that's another traumatic experience to have, is to not know when to stop.
Right. And you also
not know when to hit the pause button.
Look, you got to realize also sometimes there's just certain people that no longer have the capacity for you.
That part.
And that's just what it is. Right. And it's okay because friendships and people that you're with, not talking about a spousal relationship, obviously, because that's under God and that's, for the duration. But some relationships are seasonal. So you moved out of that particular season. So that relationship no longer serve it. And I know people in the world said no longer serves you, but in relationships, we're supposed to be serving one another.
Very true.
So, and it's fine. That's why we need to be praying and asking the Lord, like, when we're in these relationships, is this season for this up and over and not, and will help us keep our hearts, guarding our hearts. And it will keep us so that we won't be so upset when it kind of ends or it fizzles out and things like that. So we have to pay attention to that because we need to know, part of that is knowing where God is taking you. And just some people, there's no seat on the bus for them.
That's correct.
And that's just
very true.
What it is, because the reality is some of those people are trying to pull you back down to where you were. And God's like, no, I need you.
I need you to come higher.
Here. Yeah. And this person, because they're not willing to submit their will to God, they're not going with you. They got to deal with their own stuff. And some people, and we talk about this, some people just are cycling. And they're cycling and they're cycling and they're cycling because they're not doing what they need to do. Because we're talking about inner healing and wounds. They're not doing what they need to do to heal. And for some people, definitely prayer. But for some of y'all need to go see a psychiatrist, psychologist, counselor, mental health therapist, any of that.
That's very true.
Because the trauma that you've been in is affecting everything that you do. So it's affecting your business. It's affecting you moving up. In leadership, is affecting you in ministry because you're dealing with, and let me use rejection. You're dealing with rejection so hard and tough, it's affecting everything and you don't even realize it. You just live in life, but the reality is it's affecting every single thing because you're not spending the time with yourself, spending the time with God, and spending the time with a professional to help you get whole.
Yeah. I would, one thing too, I say too, a lot of people, pull certain things, like out of the word of God, they pull certain things that, relate to them. But one of the things I will say is that, and this is what God, basically dropped on me, is just like, Moses had to come up by himself. When I called Moses up to come up there and talk to me, he was by himself.
That's good.
And sometimes we have to remember that it's not really being mean, or you're not being like you don't want to talk to people. That's not the case. It's just that I have to go by myself because I got to go before the Lord for me. And you have to go to the Lord for you. Now, if he gives me something while I'm up there for you, I'll bring it back down. Right. But I'm going up there for me. And I think that just having that mindset and just knowing that I have to go because this is my life. This is your generation. When you go up to talk to God and you're going up on that level, God is giving you something for the entire camp.
Yes.
Because he didn't just give his stuff. He wasn't just talking about Moses when he was up there, right? Yes. He wasn't just talking about Moses. So one of y'all in y'all friendship got to be willing to go a little higher, right? In your friendship, in your relationship, or whatever it is, because he gave him instruction for everybody. It wasn't just instruction for him. And I think sometimes we get into a place where we feel like, oh, if I leave them, they're going to feel some type of way. They're going to feel like, I left them. No, I need to leave you so that I can go up here and figure out what God is trying to tell me for us. It's not necessarily I'm leaving you behind, but I'm going to get some different word. I'm going to get a different understanding. I need to know what my next looks like and what your next looks like. Because your next may not be, maybe I need to warn you about something that's going to happen. I need to stay connected, right? So in this time, I need to be connected to the source so I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
But the other part of that, you already know what I'm going to say. What if you need to leave them? It's okay. They will be okay, and you will be okay.
Yes. And sometimes that is necessary. Sometimes you do have to do that.
Yeah, and people are so. I think it boils back down to trusting God, because you have to realize that God has you. So he knows your best interest, and if he's saying for you to leave a certain relationship, male, female, whatever it is, he's saying it for your good.
Yeah.
He's saying because he sees so far in advance. And he might show it to you, he might not, who knows? But he sees so far in advance. We have to be at a place, if we know that we're hearing from God, we have to be able to just trust him in what he's saying for us and what he's doing, and not be so fidgety, itching ears and all these different things, especially, if you're a leader, business owner, whatever, you need to know how to hear from God, point blank, period. You need to know how to hear from God. So, girl, we all over the place. We got like 10 minutes, but it's okay. And I think I'm gonna, y'all, I said I was gonna cut this episode up. I think I'm gonna just let it roll because we talked about so many different things.
We did.
So, we talked about what makes business traumatic. We said rejection. One thing that I wanted to add to that was risk. And I think you said it too. You have to step out in faith. And I think some people, and here's the thing, some people are risk adverse. And they talk about that as in an investment term, like you're risk adverse. So you get more conservative investments. It's hard to be good at business and be risk adverse, because just the nature of that nature of leadership, if you want to go up levels of leadership and ministry, whatever, is risky. There's no necessary, you don't know everything that's going to happen, especially even you literally got to walk in faith, because you just know what God told you to do, or what you saw or whatever, but there's an element of doubt that can come in. So you have to be a person. I think risk is also associated with fear. You have to be a person that, like your books are saying, be fearless. And you're fearless because you know who got your back. God has your back. And I know both of us, we've kind of alluded to some of it, have gone through traumatic things in business, but we're still here.
Yeah.
Even in the midst. And I know y'all joined Charise's group. She had a really good live. So whenever you're watching this would have been in 2024, one of her first live streams within the group. And she talked about how she was ready to quit. Was that last year?
Yeah, that was like towards the end of the year. Yep, towards the end of 2023. I was like, I'm done.
She's done. Right? But it's like that, because I know it was been many a time, especially when we were all in with our healthcare business. I was like, I'm ready to shut this door right now and walk out and go get me a job.
Oh yeah.
This right here is crazy.
Yeah, I was just like, you know what? I was like, I'm done. And it's so funny because, it's like kids, when your child do something, and that's how God was with me. God just made me cry and do whatever, all that. He just sat there, and then it's like, go wipe your face. Like, what does you got going on? you are, and that's the thing. You in your emotions. You cannot be in your emotions when it comes to business.
Baby, come on.
I was in my emotions. He's like, you in your emotions.
In your feelings.
You in your feelings because you, and the thing about it was, it's like especially if you don't hear God right now and you listen to this, you need to be doing everything possible that you can to hear from God. Okay.
Yeah, I think I got a freebie somewhere in my stuff about how to hear from God.
Yes, because she has a lot of stuff about how to hear from God. You need to get that and you need to listen to it, because the thing is that what God told me is basically, you hear me. Don't get mad at me because it don't work out and you ain't listening. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, because the reality is God he told you what you needed to know.
Yes.
You got to be obedient.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so just, and that's the thing, so this is a walk, especially, and that's why one of the reasons why I, opened up Confidence God's Way, because it's like God's way is the only way that you're going to be confident. Right. You're going to hear from God. You're going to be blessed, you're going to be healed, whole, and well. Dr. Hart has a book called, God Still Heals. You need to, and he does, right? He does still do these things. But what happens is we stop listening. Right. And then you're mad because your business don't work out. Your relationship don't work out when he was trying to tell you not to marry the person in the first place. And you're upset. And you're upset, and then we get upset with God. Even, I can relate to that. When I married my first husband, I felt that way too. I was mad. I was like, how you let me marry this joker? And you knew the joke was crazy. Like, what?
Missed all the signs.
And he like, didn't I send such and such and such to tell you this? And didn't your dad do this right before your wedding to tell you didn't have to get married? Did you think none of that was me? I was like, oh, you listen.
You put it out there.
I was like, oh, yeah, he shut me all the way down. Go and sit down in the corner. You know how they said, don't put me down. Go sit in the corner.
Wow. Yeah. And that's funny because it's not funny, but it is funny. Mm-hmm. Because, you can look back on a situation like, God warned me. I just didn't heed. I did not. I just straight up, I did what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Very much so. We all do it.
Yeah.
I don't care how close you is to the cross. We all do it.
Yeah. I think that's the humanness of who we are. And that's why we need God. Because even when we do mess up, even when we do stuff that we know is wrong or disobedient or whatever, he's still right there. Mm-hmm. Every time. So if you don't know Jesus, because I know there might be some people on here, if you want a friend, what they say, a friend that sticks closer than a brother,
yes,
comfort.
It is very true about it.
Yeah, you need Jesus, because it's not in Buddha, it's not, and in the business space, it's a lot of new age.
A lot
of new age, but it's not in any of that. I don't even know how somebody cannot be with Jesus and do life. Because I'm like, that would be hard. My God, it would just be this. But you see why people go to other stuff. They go to new age, they go to crystals, they go to palm readers, they go to all this stuff, trying to hear a word, hear from God.
They go to that because they feel like it's a faster answer.
Yes. Yeah. Or a more sure answer.
And even though the answer may seem like it comes faster, there are some consequences tied to that. And so with that being said, when you deal with that, then you got to deal with all those consequences that come right after that. And all those consequences are not good, because later on down the line, you forget what you was doing and all that. But the enemy don't forget none of that. He's going to bring all that right on back.
Yes.
When you all successful and you doing good and, you think that you're doing all right. Because one thing that people fail to understand is that the enemy cannot bless you. He can give you temporary stuff. He can multiply stuff. He can magnify stuff, do all of that and make you feel like he's doing something. Mm-hmm. But he can't bless you. Blessings come from God. And so so that's in business and leadership and anything. Those blessings come from God. They don't come from the enemy. So when you think that people are getting ahead because you see that, oh, they're, doing New Age, or they're doing these different, other religions, and you feel like they're getting ahead, that's not true. And don't allow the enemy to punk you and make you think that is true, because that's not true.
Because they don't tell you about the sleepless nights. They don't tell you about the different things, because when you're outside of God and you're accessing the spiritual realm or whatever, that's not God. If it's not God, we know it's the enemy, and there's torment that comes with that.
Exactly.
And it might be on you, or it might be on your kids. It might be on future generations. You don't necessarily know, but I know, like something you had said, I think also the reason why people go to those methods, tarot, all the different things, is because it's something that's in the flesh, meaning they feel like they can control it to a certain degree. Whereas you can't control what God's going to tell you to do. He not your, what's that lady? Genie in the bottle. Yep. He not that.
Right.
You can't say and do these rituals and do these things and get this outcome and result. And some people, they're so controlling that that's what they need and that's what they want. But that's not God. You access God by faith. You access God by Jesus, obviously. But you access the things of God, it's by faith, and he gives you what you need. And you don't necessarily, you can't dictate what you need. You feel like you need more money, but God says, no, you need this. You need to forgive. You need to forgive this person. Yes. While you praying for money, you need to do this. You need to do that. And I think that's part of the reason why certain people, especially if you're a leader, because leaders can have an element of being controlling. It's just part of it. The type of temperament, personality that comes with somebody in leadership or business, whatever. So, but as a kingdom person, you have to submit your will to God. I think sometimes that's the hardest part, especially if you haven't got delivered from pride and just all the things. That's the hardest part. So it's easier, going back to what we're talking about, it's easier for you to do a new age practice, manifestation, fortune teller, going whatever it is, to access the supernatural, because it's something you can control, because you can pay your money. Correct. You can pay your money and get your cards read, and there's like a lot of different things. You can pay the money for that, so you still feel like you have control over that. But the reality is, because you're accessing demonic entities, familiar spirits, all those things, you think you have control because they want you to think that, but you really don't. And then open up something that you didn't even realize that you opened. And you don't know how to close it, because Sage ain't gonna do it. No. Child. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. But in this space, it came up. So hey, listen. In this space, as well as I do, it's a lot of that. Yeah. A lot. And I'm sorry if that's what you do, that's fine. That's not fine, but if that's what you do, that's what you do. But we'd like to say that there's a better way. There is a better way. Yeah. So that's the political correct. Absolutely. Political correct. Absolutely, there's a better way. So let's go ahead and try to wrap this thing up. Okay. So the last topic I have is, what keeps you going in business? How do you stay motivated? So we're going to start talking about this, because y'all know I don't want this to be a 3-hour podcast, maybe eventually, but we've moved. We were 30 minutes and now we an hour, and it's fine. So I'll start with this one. What keeps me motivated? I think for me, it's my why. My why. Why am I doing this? And the thing about me with leadership and business, it came and it comes very natural. So I don't try to do it. Right. Doing the business coaching, the things that I do and seeing others win in business and ministry and leadership. It's not like I'm trying to do it. It just literally pours out and comes out. So for me to do more of it, it's just like, we talk about your oil, and you guys can go back in the scripture where we talk about how I believe it was Elijah with the prophet, with the widow woman, and the person her husband, her husband died, who worked in the school of prophets with Elijah, and he left debt. And y'all know I love this passage in Kings, and I'll, in the description show notes, I'll put the actual address to it. But he asked her, what do you have in her house? And she said she ain't got nothing but some oil. And that a lot of people use that as a metaphor for what you have on the inside of you. You have oil on the inside of you, but he needed her to put that oil in a container so that she could sell it and make money. So bringing it back to what we're talking about, Sometimes the things that are in you are just in you, but they're just not in you for you to distribute just out there. You know, if you want to do what you love to do, you know, all the time, you need to put it in a container so that there can be an exchange so that you can get some wealth out of it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's called business. Yeah. Right. But if you are gifted in certain things, I think God gifted you in those things so you can pour it out. And yes, you can pour it out for business. And yes, you can pour it out for leadership or ministry where you don't necessarily have to get paid, or you can get paid in some way that God brings it back to you. But I think if you're a person like that and you study to show yourself approved, 2 Timothy 2:15, you study to show yourself approved, that God will open those doors. But then we have to be able to, you know, have enough knowledge and wisdom to package it up, right? So that we can, you know, be blessed from it and that we can do more of it. Because, you know, the Bible talks about if a man don't work, he don't eat.
Very true.
So you got to work.
Yes.
Most of us, 99% of us, unless we're independently wealthy and we have an inheritance or we won the lottery, whatever it is, we got to work. Sometimes.
Yes. Definitely.
So for me, going back to the question.
Yes.
That's part of my why, because it's just in me to do it. What about you?
My why is
your motivation for doing
my motivation for doing it is basically to help other people, to help bless other people. That's one of my motivations, is to see people, especially women, come out of bondage of not feeling like they're enough, or not feeling like they're beautiful enough, or they got to look a certain way for things to happen. So I believe that is my motivation, to see people smiling, to be able to see them set free from bondage and just things that they have been through in life that have caused them to be in this shell that they should not be in. And I think that motivates me because also I have girls and I want them to feel just as confident and as beautiful as I do. And so I keep them around me. I make sure when we, you know, do events and different things like that, that they're always there, present, they're helping, they're doing different things, because I believe if they put in the work and they see it firsthand, that eventually they'll want to do the same thing too. They want to see smiles on people's faces, especially women. They want to see them just, you know, loving life, you know, because sometimes, and this is the thing, you know, and that I prayed about, is I asked God, I said, you know, you got me here. And you got me here in this time, and it's for a reason. So the time that you have me here, what is it for? Because what I want to do is I want to do exactly what you want me to do, and I don't want to do anything else. Right. And I think that sometimes we get into a place where we get to doing things and it just becomes you know, like just on repeat, basically. Right. Your life is on repeat. You just keep going. And you never ask that question, like, what am I really here for? Because you can really live your life out with God, or you can just exist. And existing is just you going to work every day and paying your bills, but that's not what I'm here for. Right. And so I pray and I say, God, what is exactly am I here for? And I'm here to set that stake in the ground that says, look, I'm here. So, because you can't have all these women, we're not gonna do that. You can't have all these women. You can't have all these women dealing with fear, dealing with bondage, not knowing who they are. We're not gonna do that. So I'm drawing the line in the sand, and I'm saying that I'm gonna help them, so that when they get ready to go out, that they can feel confident and bold and beautiful about themselves.
That's so good. I think sometimes this happens in the world as well as in God and kingdom, that God will breathe on their testimony and use that testimony, give them a platform based on that testimony, or that's the starting point to their actual platform, whether it be a business, ministry, leadership, whatever, what have you. And I think that's, you know, just so good. And then the other thing I was thinking about what you were saying about your kids, them seeing you do what you do, you're teaching them a skill set. Right. It might not be exactly what you're doing, but they're going to come up when they're 18. They're like, okay, I just haven't in my DNA that I'm supposed to have multiple streams of income. That's all I know. You know, with me, that's the way it was with me and my parents. My parents, they to me, they was like Jamaican. Well, let me not say that. Lord, forgive me. That's a racial thing. They were like people that have a bunch of jobs.
Yeah, but you know that's what everybody says, like, right? You know, so I mean, it's just like a metaphor. That's all. We're not against nobody, you know. We just that's just like a metaphor. I've had people tell me that too. Like, you trust me because you go to school, you work 2 jobs, like what you know. So but it's just a metaphor.
Yes. So I was saying that to say they have multiple businesses and things like that. So grew up, see, that's funny. Grew up, just that's all I saw. So that's what I thought was normal. Mm-hmm. But coming up, so when I got 18, I just did what I saw. But some individuals don't have that. They don't necessarily have that perspective. So it might be harder for them, not saying you need to quit your 9 to 5 or whatever, but it might be harder for them to see how you do things without having a hustle mentality. Because I don't necessarily think hustle mentality is what you need to be doing. You need to just, do business, do work. You don't necessarily have to hustle, because hustle is indicative of everything's not set up. You're not legal. You're all of this. You hustling.
Yeah.
You're a business owner. You're a ministry leader. So you ain't got to have the hustle mentality. You have a different, mentality. But if that's not you, so for the people listening, the audience listening, if that's not you, that's a mindset you have to develop. So how you develop it is you can watch other people, just like, for me, I did as a kid, watch my parents, but you can watch other people that are like that. So you almost have to train yourself to have that type of mentality. I know way back, Millionaire Mind, that book was a big thing. Not Cash Flow, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That was
I heard that book.
All of that is mentality changing. So for some of us, the reason why we're dealing with what we're dealing with, why we are where we are, is just we don't have the mentality for that level. But it goes back to the Bible, Romans 12:1-2, talking about renew your mind to the word of God. It's the same thing. Sometimes you have to renew your mind to a different way of thinking, because your old way of thinking is not serving you. It's not pushing you up. It's not helping you to level up. It's keeping you where you're at. And like bringing it all the way back to what we were talking about, sometimes that means you're changing your environment. Sometimes that means you're changing your friends and all of this. But God will give you the strategy. God will give you the plan. Yeah. So we are an hour and 7 minutes. So
I'm laughing because I say, you know what? It's kind of funny because like when we get together and that oil get to flowing, it be like God be like.
Right, because half the stuff we talk about went on these we have a little script, or not script, but we have a little thing what we are, I forgot what they call it, but what we are supposed to be talking about. But God, he do what he do.
Exactly.
He does what he does. So Charise, I appreciate you.
You are welcome.
For coming. You're definitely a friend of the pod, so you will be back. Various topics, but you guys, let me single myself out. You guys stay locked in. We have a lot more of this. Definitely comment down there below if you're looking at wherever you're looking at this at. You're on YouTube, if you're on the website, wherever you're at, there should be a place for you to comment. Look at the show notes. I made some notes here so that I can include some things that we talked about in the show notes. So definitely avail yourself to that. Charise's information, if you want to get her book, if you want to join her membership, if you want to be a part of her free Facebook group, all of that, all those links are going to be in the show notes. If you have any questions, definitely let us know. And if you have any show topics, because we hit on a lot of things that could actually be show, because one of the things that we actually talked about was raising kids in this type of with this type of skill set, and just living your life as who you are in front of your kids. And that's a thing. A lot of people don't know how to do that. So, or don't know that that's a thing that you should be doing. So that's a good show topic. So if you guys have show topics, definitely let us know. So all the contact information will be in and around this video. So in saying all that, I will see you guys next time. And thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Kingdom Business Leadership Podcast. To continue the conversation on growing your kingdom business or to join the Kingdom Business Leadership Network, head over to our website at thekbln.com, or you can find us on Facebook. To connect, text God's CEO to 77948.